Hey guys, it's Will here. Now, it's been a little while since I've done a 40k bat rep on the channel, but me and Sam are back with one tonight. We're going Maelstrom of War, 2,000 points, Salamanders against Chaos. Should be an interesting game because we've both got something a little bit different tonight. Sam has been previously running Iron Warriors, but tonight he's trying Renegades. But the big difference is we've both brought a super heavy. I've got my knight, Sir Frederick of House Cadmus, ready and waiting with his new missile launcher upgrade that I managed to get hold of. And Sam is trying a Khorne Lord of Skulls. Now, I've not faced one of these before, but from what I've heard, they are pretty nasty, and Sam's picked this one up second hand in pretty good nick. And it should be very interesting to see how this fares against the Salamanders, who generally do quite well against vehicles. And I've got a knight, so it's going to be super heavy on super heavy. But without further ado, let's see what we've both brought. So here is my 2,000 point Salamanders list with an allied Imperial Knight. Let's start down here and take a look at my Warlord. So we've got a Space Marine Captain with a Power Fist and a Combi Flamer. He's running the Salamander special relic item, the Salamander Mantle for +1 toughness, and then he's got Champion of Humanity for his Warlord trait. And I've got Terminator Librarian with a what's that thingy, a Force Axe. And then onto my troops, I've got 3 tactical squads. First one is just 5 guys, and they've got a melter gun and a combi melter, and they'll be riding in a Razorback with heavy bolter, storm bolter. Then I've got a 10-man squad with a plasma gun and a plasma cannon, and they'll be riding in, or 5 of them will be riding in a Razorback with the same config. They'll obviously be combat squadding. And then another squad here, again 10 guys, but these are Flamer, Combi Flamer, Missile Launcher with a Rhino, although I'll probably combat squad them as well. Then, supporting them, got my Terminators, 5 guys with an Assault Cannon. Then I got 5 Devastators, 2 Missile Launchers and 2 Las Cannons. And then my bikes, my converted Raptor Riders, have got a Grav Gun on the Sergeant, Grav Gun on 2 of the guys and a Combi Grav on the Sergeant. And then finally, Sir Frederick of House Cadmus, my Imperial Knight Paladin. We've got the Rapid Fire Battle Cannon on there, and then the turret weapon is the Spear Strike Missile. It's the one that's basically 3 crack missiles. And he is taking up a whole quarter of my points. So no Storm Raven tonight, no Predator, a little bit of an experimental list, but it should be fun to see how this knight gets on.
So here's my 2,000 points of chaos. So starting with my battalion, I have my Demon Prince. He'll be a Slaanesh Demon Prince for this game, using the artifact that gives him +1 strength and attack. He has 2 Malefic Talons despite the sword. I then have a Sorcerer, and it will be a Tzeentch Sorcerer, and with just a 4 sword. Between them, the Demon Prince has Warp Time and Smite. The Sorcerer has the Tzeentch power that gives +1 to my Invon, and Prescience, as well as Smite. For troops, I've got 8 Marines with a Combi Melter and Melter in a Rhino. 10 Marines with Combi Melter and Melter in a Rhino. These ones have combo weapons, these ones have bolters. They'll be all marked of Tzeentch, just so I can maybe sling an Invon on them if I feel like it. Our last troop would be 24 Bloodletters. I've not tried Bloodletters yet, so I'll give them a shout and see what happens. 5 bikes in the fast with 2 Melter Guns, a Power Sword, and all got combi bolts. They'll be Tzeentch. 3 Obliterators. Just stock standard, but they've got the Mark of Slaanesh, which allows me to use the stratagem that allows them to shoot twice, which is awesome. A Forge Fiend, that'll be Tzeentch, just cause. That's got 2 Hades autocannons and an Ectoplasma cannon, so I know these guys are decent from experience. And a Khorne Lord of Skulls. So, first time I've ever tried this model, a second-hand piece, so I'm still working on getting it on the table. So I still need some work on the axe and fix that split that's happening there, but it's mostly there. So, with that, that's 2,000 points of chaos onto deployment.
Okay, so we are all set and ready to rumble. Tonight's mission is standard cleanse and control, so just 3 objectives each per turn. And we've got hammer and anvil deployment, which is normally a real pain in the butt, but with us both rocking super heavies, our armies are a bit smaller, so this shouldn't be too bad. Sam just about finished deploying first. Lord of Skulls is front and centre, with the bikes and the more sort of choppy of his Chaos squads over to that side, and the Bloodletters and the more shooty squad to this side, Demon Prince and Forge Fiend a little bit further back, and then he's got his Obliterators in Deep Strike Reserve. He's holding objective 5 there with the Forge Fiend, and 3 is just in front of the bikes. 4's in front of the Bloodletters, 1 is midfield, and then the other ones are in my deployment zone. So I've got Devastator squad camping out in that building with an objective just down the bottom there by the Rhino. Squad in there is the Flamer, Combi Flamer missile launcher, who have combat squadded. Next squad is in the Razorback here, a bit more central, got Melters in there. And then half of the 3rd squad are combat squadded down into the trees with a plasma cannon. Bikes are behind there, holding objective 6 and looking to counterattack. And then the captain is in here with the plasma gun half of the other squad. And then my knight on the flank. So, in theory, even though Sam has first turn, and he has warp time on one of his characters, he shouldn't be able to get the Lord of Skulls into combat with anything too fragile this turn. I think he's just out of range for the Devastators and the Knight because of the angle. He might be able to smash a tank, but then that leaves him somewhat open to counterattack. But we shall see. Devastators and Librarian are in reserves, and my Librarian is packing Might of Heroes, Smite and Veil of Time. So, only things left to do is see if the Salamanders can seize the initiative. Nope, it's a 1. Initiative not stolen. Chaos, turn 1. So, a brutal first turn for the forces of Khorne. As you can see, everything bar the Forge Fiend has just launched an all-out assault on my lines, and his movement phase ended with the Obliterators deep striking behind my Devastators. Psychic phase, he got off Smite on my Knight for 2 wounds, and then he was able to warp time the Lord of Skulls up the table to get it really close to my lines, before presciencing the old Forge Fiend at the back there that was camping objective 5. His objectives this turn were to secure 4, he also had Psychological Warfare and defend 2, 2 being all the way over here. Shooting phase started off with the Obliterators, who, well, obliterated my Devastators. It was devastating. It was nearly as bad as that pun. He got a 6 for his strength. That's a +6 for his strength, and he got -3 for the AP, and then a load of hits, and just wiped my Devastators out. At the end of the shooting phase, he comes back to them, but we will see that in a minute. Forge Fiend had a pretty good time of it, being prescienced, was able to get a good number of hits on my Knight, all at -1 to my save, and I rolled a whole load of 3s. So ended up taking 6 wounds from the Forge Fiend, before taking another 6 wounds from the Skull Hurler, from the Lord of Skulls, and then the other weapon on there is a Gorestorm cannon, which wiped out my bike squad. Absolutely brutal shooting. He then killed off my Rhino with combined firepower from the bikes, who did 7 wounds to it. And then the Obliterators, who used the Endless Cacophony stratagem to allow them to fire a second time at the end of the shooting phase, leaving me with no Rhino. Thankfully it didn't explode, and the squad in there were able to scurry behind the trees, meaning that they couldn't actually be charged, or they needed an 11 to get charged by the Lord of Skulls, who instead tried to charge the Rhino, but fell short because he needed a 9 to get there. It wasn't really worth a reroll because he got 4, but Sam tried it anyway and still failed on the reroll. So he's used a few command points that turn, but it's been devastating. He's got his first blood, he's got his 4, but more importantly, he's put 14 wounds onto my knight, leaving him on just 10 wounds, and taken out 2 of my powerful support squads. Anyway, let's see if the Salamanders can respond to this in Imperial turn 2. So, starting off my turn with what look to be 3 fairly scoreable objectives: Big Game Hunter, Overwhelming Firepower, and the slightly hard to defend one, particularly considering Objective 1 has a Lord of Skulls parked on it, so that's going to be fun. Knew I wasn't going to be able to take this out anytime soon with my Devastators gone and my Knight degraded, but there's certainly some damage we can do. So firstly, over here, this Rhino disembarked. Oh, well, the squad in this Rhino disembarked. Half of them went up there, and half of them moved up here. The squad that disembarked last turn moved up to get within range of the Lord of Skulls, and the captain had been in this Razorback here. He backed off into these woods to sit with that squad, while the squad accompanying him moved forward, and I moved the Razorback up into this gap. Knight pushed forward to threaten the enemy's flank, and the Terminators deep strike down here with the Librarian. Terminators originally came on about there. Psychic phase, my Librarian cast Warp Time on this squad to give them reroll charge. Sorry, I don't mean Warp Time, I mean Veil of Time. Warp Time would have been awesome, but alas, we don't have that. Veil of Time. And then he tried to smite the Forge Fiend, but only rolled 4, and I'd already used my reroll to try and get Veil of Time off on them. Shooting wasn't as good as I'd hoped it could be, particularly from the Knight. So having Big Game Hunter, I thought, you know what, that Rhino's big game, I'll try and take that out. So Missile Launcher and Battle Cannon at that. Now, granted, it had Pop Smoke last turn, and granted, I was at -1 to hit because of my stats degrading, but it still should have done more than it did. Did a grand total of nothing after saves. All those shots, all that firepower, nothing. Did kill a few Bloodletters with the heavy stubbers, and the Terminators did a bit of a number, killing a good lot of the Bloodletters there. Over here, the Melter Gun squad fired at the Lord of Skulls and put 3 wounds on it. And it took another 4 from that plasma cannon that overcharged, and 2 from this plasma gun overcharging. And finally, the combined firepower of this squad here and that squad in there killed a total of 1 bike and did a wound to another, so nowhere near as much damage in the shooting phase as I would have liked, and the Lord of Skulls is relatively unscathed. Assault phase, decided best thing to do was tie up these Obliterators, because yeah, they are a real threat, so I just reversed my Rhino into them. Did take a couple of wounds on the way in, but you know what, it's worth it to stop them shooting next turn. And the Knight and the Terminators charged. Again, Knight had a pretty poor time of it, despite only needing a 4 to hit, and me using a command point to get a reroll, only did 1 hit to the Rhino. Luckily that did put 6 wounds on it, but still not as much as it should have done by a long shot. Terminators had a bit of better time of it, killed the Chaos Sorcerer, and also cut down a good number of the Bloodletters, and Sam had to burn a couple of command points to stop them running away. Now, unfortunately, it didn't score any points that turn, but the Sorcerer's gone, the Bloodletters are greatly reduced, the Lord of Skulls has taken some damage, and the Obliterators are tied up, so far from where I'd like to be, but it's not the end of the world. Let's see what the Khorne forces do as we head into turn 2. So, turn 2, and the forces of Khorne continue to press their advantage, as Sam looks at his watch there, because this is my 3rd attempt at recording this. So yeah, he had secure objective, or defend objective 2, area denial, and scour the skies. Scour the skies obviously got discarded. Pushed up his Khorne mower and his bikes, and had his traitors disembark from their Rhino there. And over here, also swang his Demon Prince across, and pulled his Obliterators out of combat. Shooting phase, Psychic phase first. The Demon Prince smited the Knight for, I think it was just a couple of wounds. But then the night really got lit up in the shooting phase by the Skull Hurler and the Forge Fiend's Hades autocannons. And I think, yeah, something else down here. I think the 2 melter guns in that squad shot it, but one missed and the other was saved. Down here, the bikes put some damage onto the Rhino, but the Obliterators were unable to shoot, and the Plasma Cannon squad in there took a couple of wounds from the Gore Flamer thingy. That Lord of Skulls has some weird weapons on it. It was the assault phase where the damage was done, though. The charge of the Demon Prince brought the Knight down to a single wound, and the Lord of Skulls managed to inflict casualties in both of these squads. Being renegades, he was able to charge despite advancing that squad, which cost me 3 members of the squad in there, and he also managed to bring the Rhino down to a single wound with his bike squad, but at least they're tied up for now. In return, the Knight managed to stomp out 3 of this squad here, and I killed a few more Bloodletters with the slightly depleted Terminator squad, but not enough to force them to break. But yeah, points-wise, he scored 1 point for area denial. Luckily, that squad were just within 12, and he obviously discarded Scour the Skies, and is going to score Defend 2 next turn, because there's very little I've got to deal with that right now. So my Knight is almost dead on a single wound, but, you know, it's not over till the Fat Lady sings. Here we go. So, the first thing I did this turn was back my Knight out of combat, because it can do that and still shoot, and proceed to fire all its big guns at the Lord of Skulls. But thanks to some pretty good saves, and just the horrible way the Knight degrades, only did 2 wounds to the Lord of Skulls. Did a couple more wounds to it with the plasma guns in this squad and this squad. I'd backed these 2 squads out of combat to allow me to shoot that. But damage was pretty minimal, unfortunately. Librarian had a good time of it, smited the Rhino for 3 wounds, and was planning to charge that. He also put Mighty Heroes on the Terminator Sergeant. And then I charged the Razorback into the Demon Prince, the Knight into the Chaos Marines, and the Librarian into the Rhino. Unfortunately, the Librarian just about failed to hurt the Rhino, despite having 3 attacks with a full sword, full staff even. And the Knight really mucked up its attacks here and killed 1, if any. I don't think it actually killed any of them. The hit was just terrible. And unfortunately, the Demon Prince was able to heroic intervention into the Knight and finish that off. On the plus side, the Terminators did finally wipe out the Bloodletters, but it took leadership to do that, which means I don't score Blood and Guts, which was my new card this turn. Over here, the bikes finished off the Rhino in combat, but the other combat over there ground to a stalemate. So, turn 2, and I still haven't scored a point yet. Things are not looking good, and now I'm down a Knight. But here we go with Chaos, turn 3. Casualties continued to pile up this turn. Shooting wasn't too effective, but it was all really about the assault. So the Lord of Skulls did manage to finish off one of these squads that were here, and the bikes did the other one. But other than that, not really a lot of output. It was all in the assault. So the bikes charged into the squad that were in here, wiped them out, but then the captain turned round with a heroic intervention and punched all 4 of them out with his power fist. Chapter Tactics rerolls really helped me to pull that off. Over here, this squad finished off the unit that was up in the building. The guys here continued to wail away on the Razorback. The Chaos Marine squad charged in. That's now on 5 wounds. And unsurprisingly, the Lord of Skulls wiped out a combat squad in combat. Finally, the Librarian was still in combat with the Rhino, so he swung for that and wrecked it with his Force Axe. So that scored Sam Blood and Guts for D3 points. 1 for that squad, 1 for that squad, and 1 for that, which I believe he rolled a 3 for. Yeah, and then he got behind enemy lines for those 2 squads there. And the Lord of Skulls is in my deployment zone as well, so another D3, which he also rolled 3 for. No, Oh, we only got 3 points in total, sorry, not 3 for each. So, but a good score nonetheless. And I scored Blood and Guts and Big Game Hunter, my first proper scores of the game. So, yeah, things are looking pretty bleak right now. I have 2 characters, 2 Terminators, and a damaged Razorback. But, you know what? We're still going to give it a go. We're going to play this out. Space Marine, turn 3. Short but sweet turn here with some nice little assaults. So, the Librarian started off by smiting the Chaos Squad here and killing 3 of them. Unfortunately, that didn't save the Razorback from getting mauled in combat. Over here, the Terminators pulled off a nice long bomb charge into the Forge Fiend and did a little bit of damage to it, but not enough to destroy it. But I've got Mission Critical Objective 5, so I'm very close to fighting him off there, so that's a possibility for next turn. My other new card was Master the Warp, which the Librarian obviously grabbed me. And my captain pulled off a nice long bomb charge into the Obliterators and killed 2 of them for 2 wounds in return from the Overwatch. So, yeah, I'm under no illusions that we've basically lost this game, but I will go down fighting. So scored a point for Mastery of the Warp there, and we now go into the 5th Chaos turn. Sorry, I don't mean turn 5, I mean turn 4, which, considering just how much damage has been done, just goes to show how brutal this edition is. So a surprisingly ineffective turn for the Forces of Chaos there. The 2 Chaos Marines left over from that squad were able to finish off my Librarian with a couple of Melter Gun shots, but the Demon Prince failed to charge the Terminators. The Lord of Skulls failed to do anything to my captain in the shooting phase, and while he did pull off a charge, my captain saved 7 out of 8 wounds from there, meaning only took 2 damage. He turned round and put 7 wounds onto the Corn Mower with his Power Fist. So although it's not gone, he technically won that combat. So that's pretty cool. Sam did score 1 point for no prisoners. My Terminators put some more wounds onto the Forge Fiend. So as we head into the 5th Space Marine turn, no, 4th Space Marine turn, it's not over yet. You know, we can still have some fun here. With those 2 combats going on, it was a very short turn again. Basically, the Forge Fiend kicked over one of my Terminators, leaving me with just 1 left. And the Lord of Skulls was finally able to wipe out my captain. Didn't go down without a fight though, put another couple of wounds on there. But, you know, I now have 1 Terminator who's locked in combat and not doing a lot. So that is pretty much game. So thank you very much, mate, for a good game. And yeah, I'll join you guys in a second for the post-game. Right, so a crushing victory for the Forces of Chaos there. Sam had a really good go out, and I think the big difference was how our respective super heavies formed.
Yeah, definitely. We've definitely discovered the Lord of Skulls is so much better than Knight.
Oh, it's so good. I mean, the shooting is reliable, the weapon skill and ballistic skill don't degrade, and the attacks, well, they degrade in reverse.
Yeah, they go up. It goes 4, 6, 8.
Yeah, whereas as soon as hits started to go up onto the Knight there, it was really starting to affect its output.
Yeah, so my turn 1 was suitably devastating. I mean, it did chew all of my command points by turn 2, but it did the work, so
yeah,
that's what you need.
And I think getting through your command points, or at least the majority of them early on, is a good strategy, because you get them, strike while the iron's hot, you know, do your best damage, and then your opponent is left reeling.
Yeah, so fun game. Was definitely an experimental list on both sides. You wanted to try the Knight, I wanted to try the Lord.
Yeah, and very, very different results. So, but yeah, well done. I mean, you played well, you used him right, aggressive, did the right damage to the right units.
I think one mistake in deployment is you had a combat squad, which I hadn't accounted for. So we were both 8 drops, but then you had an extra combat squad out of a transport.
Yeah,
so.
Well, I didn't have enough transport capacity because I wanted Razorbacks over Rhinos for the shooting. But you know, I think the better list there would have been the Stormraven. Honestly, I think I missed him a lot tonight. Played lots of games with the Salamanders recently, although I haven't bat-repped many of them. Played a lot with the Stormraven, and it has been brutal.
Yeah, Stormraven is pretty good. I think I've killed it once with my combo of Guard and Colt.
Yeah, and I still won that game.
Yeah, by point.
by a point, but a point's a point, a win's
But
a win.
I didn't even count the points of this game. It was horrendous.
Yeah, it was just a mauling, but yeah. So I think you can expect to see the Lord of Skulls again, but probably
Definitely.
not the Knight for a while. I think the Knight might be going back home for a little while, and I would say the Storm Raven's coming back, but I think we all know what army I'm going to be playing very soon.
Ugh, dirty elves.
Oh
Just,
yes.
it's just not even funny.
Codex
Elves need to
Eldar.
die.
Codex Eldar is coming, and the Bealtan are coming with it. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you guys again soon.
Bye.
Bye.